My wife staged a fake breakup because her friends convinced her to test my love. She thought I'd crumble, but my reaction exposed everything wrong in our marriage and forced her to face the truth. It started on a Thursday. I remember that because I'd just come back from a long day at work, and the house was unusually quiet. No music, no smell of dinner, no sound of Emily humming in the kitchen like she usually did. I walked in, dropped my keys on the counter, and saw her sitting on the couch, arms crossed, eyes red. She looked like she'd been crying, but not in a dramatic way, more like she'd been holding it in for hours. I asked her what was wrong, and she said we needed to talk. That's never a good sign. I sat down across from her, and she told me she didn't think things were working anymore. Just like that. No build-up, no explanation. I asked her what she meant, and she said she needed space, that she felt disconnected, that maybe we'd grown apart. I didn't know what to say. I just sat there, stunned. We'd been married for 6 years. We'd had fights, sure, but nothing that ever felt like it would lead to this. I asked her if she was serious, and she said she was. She said she'd already packed a bag and was going to stay with her friend Rachel for a while. Rachel. That name stuck in my head like a splinter. I never liked Rachel. She was always stirring things up, always had something to say about our marriage, always whispering in Emily's ear about how she deserved more, how she should test me. I didn't know what that meant at the time, but I would soon. Emily left that night. No hug, no goodbye. Just walked out the door with her duffel bag and didn't look back. I sat there in the dark for hours, trying to make sense of it. I replayed every conversation we'd had in the past month, every moment that felt off, every time she seemed distant. I blamed myself. I thought maybe I'd missed something, maybe I hadn't been present enough, maybe I'd taken her for granted. The next few days were hell. I didn't sleep much. I kept checking my phone, hoping for a text, a call, anything. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't want to admit it was happening. I went to work, came home, stared at the walls. I didn't touch her side of the bed. I didn't move her toothbrush. I kept everything exactly the way she left it. On the 4th day I broke down. I called her. She didn't answer. I left a voicemail just saying I loved her and I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't hear back. That night I drank too much. I'm not proud of it, but I needed something to numb the pain. I sat on the porch with a bottle of whiskey and just let it all out. I cried. I hadn't cried like that since my dad died. It felt like something inside me was tearing open. On the 6th day I got a text. It was from Emily. She said she wanted to meet and talk. I drove to the coffee shop she picked, heart pounding the whole way. When I walked in she was already there, sitting at a corner table. She looked calm. Too calm. I sat down, and she said she needed to tell me something. She said she hadn't left because she wanted to. She said Rachel and a couple of her other friends, Maya and Lauren, had convinced her to do it. They told her it would be a good way to test me, to see how I'd react, to see if I really cared, to see if I'd fight for her. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I asked her if she was serious, and she said yes. She said they'd been talking about it for weeks, that they thought I was too emotionally distant, too comfortable, too complacent, that I needed a wake-up call. I didn't know what to say. I just stared at her. She said she was sorry, that she didn't realize how much it would hurt me, that she thought maybe it would bring us closer. I asked her if she even meant any of the things she said that night she left. She said no. She said it was all part of the plan. I felt sick. I felt like I'd been manipulated, like my pain had been turned into some kind of experiment. I told her I needed time to think. She said she understood. I walked out of that coffee shop and didn't look back. I drove around for hours just trying to clear my head. I ended up at the lake where we used to go when we were dating. I sat on the dock and watched the water. I thought about all the times we'd laughed there, all the promises we'd made. I thought about how easily it had all been thrown away. Over the next few days, I didn't talk to her. She texted a few times, but I didn't respond. I needed space. Real space. Not the kind she pretended to need. I started thinking about our marriage differently. I started wondering how much of it had been real, how much of it had been influenced by her friends, how much of it had been performative. I started remembering all the times Rachel had made little comments, all the times Emily had seemed to parrot her opinions. I started seeing patterns. I realized I'd been blind to a lot of things. I realized I'd been trying so hard to be a good husband that I hadn't noticed how much outside influence was creeping into our relationship. A week later, Emily showed up at the house. She knocked on the door and I let her in. She looked nervous. She said she missed me. She said she'd told Rachel and the others to back off. She said she realized she'd made a huge mistake. I asked her why she listened to them in the first place. She said she didn't know. She said she was feeling insecure, and they fed into that. She said she thought maybe they were right, that maybe I didn't care enough. I told her I did care. I told her I'd been devastated. I told her I'd spent days questioning everything. She started crying. She said she was sorry. She said she wanted to fix things. I didn't know if I could. I told her that. I told her trust doesn't come back overnight. I told her I needed to believe that she was her own person, that she wasn't just doing what her friends told her. She said she understood. She said she'd do whatever it took. I said I needed time. She said she'd wait. She left that night, but this time it felt different. It felt like she actually meant it. I still didn't know what I was going to do. I still didn't know if I could forgive her. But something had shifted. Something had cracked open. And I wasn't sure if it could be put back together. The days that followed were quiet. I didn't hear from Emily, and I didn't reach out. I spent a lot of time alone, thinking, replaying everything. I went back to work, tried to keep my head down, but it was hard to focus. Every time I saw a couple walking down the street or heard someone mention their spouse, it hit me all over again. I kept wondering what kind of person would let their friends orchestrate something like that. What kind of marriage was I really in? I started writing things down, memories, questions, things I wished I'd said. I wasn't trying to be dramatic. I just needed to get it out of my head. One night, I found myself scrolling through old photos on my phone. Vacations, birthdays, random selfies. There was one from our anniversary last year. Emily smiling, holding a glass of wine, her eyes lit up. I stared at it for a long time. I remembered how happy we'd been that night. Or at least how happy I thought we were. That's what kept messing with me. I didn't know what was real anymore. I didn't know if she'd been pretending, if she'd been doubting us for longer than I realized. I didn't know if I'd missed signs or if she'd hidden them well. I felt like I was trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing. After about 2 weeks, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. It was from Emily. She said she didn't want to text or call anymore, that she wanted to explain things properly. She said she'd been going to therapy since we last talked. She said she realized she'd been too dependent on her friends, that she'd let their opinions override her own instincts. She said she'd always struggled with self-doubt, and that Rachel had a way of making her feel like she was never doing enough. She said the test wasn't really about me, it was about her fear. Her fear that I'd stopped loving her, that I'd stopped noticing her, that I'd become numb to her presence. She wrote that she knew it was wrong, that she knew it was cruel, and that she hated herself for going through with it. She said she didn't expect me to forgive her, but she wanted me to understand where it came from. She said she missed me every day, that she regretted everything, and that she was trying to become someone who wouldn't need to be tested to feel secure. I read the letter 3 times. I didn't cry. I didn't get angry. I just felt tired. Tired of the emotional whiplash, tired of trying to make sense of something that felt so senseless. I didn't respond right away. I let it sit. I went back to the lake a few times, just to think. I talked to my brother about it. He told me to be careful. He said love can make you forgive things you shouldn't. He said trust is like glass. Once it's cracked, even if you glue it back together, it's never the same. I knew he was right, but I also knew I wasn't ready to walk away completely. Not yet. I decided to meet with Emily again. I texted her and asked if she wanted to go for a walk. She said yes. We met at the park near our old apartment. It was quiet, just a few people around. We walked for a while without saying much. Then she started talking. She told me more about the therapy, about the things she was learning. She said she realized she'd been trying to control the narrative of our marriage instead of living it. She said she'd been scared of being vulnerable, scared of asking for reassurance directly. I told her I would have given it to her if she just asked. She nodded. She said she knew that now. I asked her what she wanted. She said she wanted to rebuild. Not just the marriage, but herself. She said she wanted to earn back my trust, not demand it. She said she was willing to take it slow, to start over if that's what it took. I told her I didn't know if I could go back to how things were. She said she didn't want to. She wanted something better. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I just said I'd think about it. Over the next few weeks, we started seeing each other more. No pressure, no expectations. Just walks, coffee, conversations. It felt strange at first, like dating someone I already knew too well. But there was something different about her. She was quieter, more thoughtful. She didn't try to explain everything away. She just listened. She asked questions. She admitted when she didn't have answers. I started to see the woman I fell in love with again, not the version shaped by her friends, but the real Emily. The one who used to laugh at my dumb jokes, who used to dance in the kitchen, who used to hold my hand like it meant something. One night, we sat on the porch together, the same spot where I'd cried alone weeks earlier. She reached for my hand and I let her. We didn't say much. Just sat there watching the sky. I didn't know what the future held. I didn't know if we'd make it. But in that moment, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time, peace. Not because everything was fixed, but because we were finally being honest. No tests, no games, no outside voices. Just 2 people trying to find their way back to each other. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's where healing begins. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this.